Welcome to Sermon in a Song Storybook. Good morning, church, family, friends, and new listeners. How often have you faced something in your life? A challenge, a problem, a fear that just felt too big. Maybe it was a giant in your career, a giant in your health, or a giant of self-doubt. You know that feeling, that pit in your stomach when the odds are stacked against you. Well, today we are starting something new, a journey we're calling the Song Storybook. Think of this book as a collection of humanity's deepest experiences, all lived out under the watchful eye of God. Every story in this book is like a powerful song. It has a rhythm, a drama, and a truth that gets stuck in your heart and changes your tune. Week by week, we will open a new chapter in this great song storybook, pull out one unforgettable narrative, and learn how to make its rhythm the theme song of our own lives. And to begin this monumental journey, we're turning to one of the most famous and powerful songs of all, the epic confrontation between a shepherd boy and a monstrous warrior. Today, we open to the story of David and Goliath from 1 Samuel chapter 17. It is the original underdog story. It is the ultimate anthem of faith over fear. It teaches us that God doesn't need our size. He just needs our surrender. So let's lean in. Let's read the story together. And when we are finished, we will close the book for the day, but not before we uncover 3 practical, actionable lessons we can take directly from the Valley of Elah and apply to the giants we face this very week. As we conclude today, remember this: the Song Storybook is a continuous series. There are countless more stories to come. Next time, we might meet a man in a fish's belly, or a young mother whose faith changed the world, or maybe even a prodigal son coming home. Every chapter is waiting to offer us a new song of hope, courage, and truth. But for now, let's begin with the giant. Let's read the story of David and Goliath. Based on the widespread recognition and cultural impact, the story that is probably the most read and sticks with people more than any other is the story of David and Goliath. This story is a quintessential underdog tale that is often cited outside of religious contexts as a metaphor for a smaller, weaker individual or entity overcoming a much larger and more powerful opponent. This isn't just a mythical story in the Bible without significant meaning. This is God's Word. Stay tuned until the end to hear 3 practical applications for your life today. First, Samuel chapter 17. Goliath challenges Israel. Now the Philistines gathered their forces for war and assembled at Soko in Judah. They pitched camp at Ephes Dammim between Soko and Azekah. Saul and the Israelites assembled and camped in the Valley of Elah and drew up their battle line to meet the Philistines. The Philistines occupied one hill and the Israelites another, with the valley between them. A champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. His height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a bronze helmet on his head and wore a coat of scale armor of bronze weighing 5,000 shekels. On his legs he wore bronze greaves, and a bronze javelin was slung on his back. His spear shaft was like a weaver's rod, and its iron point weighed 600 shekels. His shield bearer went ahead of him. Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us." Then the Philistine said, "This day I defy the armies of Israel. Give me a man and let us fight each other." On hearing the Philistine's words, Saul and all the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. Now David was the son of an Ephrathite named Jesse, who was from Bethlehem in Judah. Jesse had 8 sons, and in Saul's time he was very old. Jesse's 3 oldest sons had followed Saul to the war. The firstborn was Eliab, the second Abinadab, and the third Shammah. David was the youngest. The 3 oldest followed Saul, but David went back and forth from Saul to tend his father's sheep at Bethlehem. For 40 days the Philistine came forward every morning and evening and took his stand. Now Jesse said to his son David, "Take this ephah of roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread for your brothers and hurry to their camp. Take along these 10 cheeses to the commander of their unit. See how your brothers are and bring back some assurance from them. They are with Saul and all the men of Israel in the valley of Elah, fighting against the Philistines." Early in the morning, David left the flock in the care of a shepherd, loaded up and set out, as Jesse had directed. He reached the camp as the army was going out to its battle positions, shouting the war cry. Israel and the Philistines were drawing up their lines facing each other. David left his things with the keeper of supplies, ran to the battle lines, and asked his brothers how they were. As he was talking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, stepped out from his lines and shouted his usual defiance, and David heard it. When the Israelites saw the man, they all fled from him in great fear. Now the Israelites had been saying, "Do you see how this man keeps coming out? He comes out to defy Israel. The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give him his daughter in marriage and will exempt his family from taxes in Israel." David asked the men standing near him, "What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" They repeated to him what they had been saying and told him, "This is what will be done for the man who kills him." When Eliab, David's oldest brother, heard him speaking with the men, he burned with anger at him and asked, "Why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle." "Now what have I done?" said David. "Can't I even speak?" He then turned away to someone else and brought up the same matter, and the men answered him as before. What David said was overheard and reported to Saul, and Saul sent for him. David said to Saul, "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." Saul replied, "You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." But David said to Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a lamb from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the lamb from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." Then Saul dressed David in his own tunic. He put a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. David strapped the sword over the tunic and tried to walk because he was not used to them. "I cannot go in these," he said to Saul, "because I am not used to them." So he took them off. Then he took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag, and with his sling in his hand, approached the Philistine. David kills Goliath. Meanwhile, the Philistine, with his shield bearer in front of him, kept coming closer to David. He looked David over and saw that he was little more than a boy, glowing with health and handsome, and he despised him. He said to David, "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. "Come here," he said, "and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals." David said to the Philistine, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. This very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands." As the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. Without a sword in his hand, he struck down the Philistine and killed him. David ran and stood over him. He took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it from the sheath. After he killed him, he cut off his head with the sword. When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they turned and ran. Then the men of Israel and Judah surged forward with a shout and pursued the Philistines to the entrance of Gath and to the gates of Ekron. Their dead were strewn along the Shaaraim road to Gath and Ekron. When the Israelites returned from chasing the Philistines, they plundered their camp. David took the Philistines' head and brought it to Jerusalem, and he put the Philistines' weapons in his own tent. As soon as Saul saw David going out to meet the Philistine, he asked Abner, the commander of the army, "Abner, whose son is that young man?" Abner replied, "As surely as you live, your majesty, I don't know." The king said, "Find out whose son this young man is." As soon as David returned from killing the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul, with David still holding the Philistine's head. "Whose son are you, young man?" Saul asked him. David said, "I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem." 3 practical applications for daily living. As we close this chapter in the Song Storybook for today, let's ask the vital question: so what? How does this ancient fight apply to your life right now? Here are 3 practical lessons from the Valley of Elah you can apply immediately. 1. Don't let the size of the giant define the size of your God. The lesson: the Israelites focused on Goliath's 9-foot height, his 125 pounds of armor, and his massive spear. David focused on the fact that Goliath defied the armies of the living God. He didn't see a giant. He saw a target that stood in the way of God's purpose. Application for you: What is the giant you are facing right now? Is it debt, addiction, a toxic relationship, or chronic anxiety? Stop defining the problem by its size and start defining it by the size of the God who is with you. When fear tells you, this is impossible, faith reminds you, my God is greater than this obstacle. Shift your focus from the obstacle's might to God's presence. 2. Run toward your battle, but fight with your own stones. The lesson. When David ran toward Goliath, he had to take off Saul's armor. Saul's heavy, bronze-plated gear was the conventional, approved way to fight, but it wasn't David's way. David chose his familiar shepherd's staff and 5 smooth stones, tools he had mastered while protecting his sheep. Application for you. Don't try to solve your problems using someone else's plan or methods if they don't fit your strengths. You are uniquely gifted. What are your smooth stones? They might be your creativity, your unique communication style, your relentless optimism, or simply your daily discipline. Stop wearing the heavy armor of comparison or expectation. Use the skills, faith, and resources God has already put in your hands. 3. Victory is found in the name, not the weapon. The lesson. David did not rely on his sling, he relied on the name of the Lord. His famous line was, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." 1 Samuel 17:45. The sling was a tool, but the name was his power source. Application for you. When you step out to face your challenge this week, go with absolute conviction in your identity. Your success isn't determined by having the newest technology, the most money, or the best connections. Your victory is secure because of whose you are. Face that difficult meeting, start that hard conversation, or make that scary decision with quiet confidence, declaring in your heart, I am here in the name of the Lord. In closing, thank you for being with us today for this powerful chapter in the Song Storybook. Take these 3 stones with you as you leave. God is bigger, use your gifts, and fight in His name. We'll open another chapter next week to hear a new song of courage and faith. Until then, go and face your giants.